Started. Okay, we are starting officially. Welcome everyone to the CB2's August Executive Committee meeting. I'm Susan Kent, Chair of the board. As just to remind everyone, for those who don't know, in August, CB2 does not hold a full board meeting.
Thank you.
And therefore we will be hearing with some of our reports. We will be hearing resolutions that will pass the committee and will be voted on, so that there is at least something on the record. And of course, any votes of that nature will then have to be ratified at next month's meeting, but that's how we do it. Anyway, so to start with our agenda, first item is to ask for approval of the June and July Executive Committee minutes. First, I will ask, does anyone have any changes or questions about those minutes? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve them?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item is the chair's report. I'm happy to announce that I have appointed all of the new members that were joined the board this year have now been appointed to standing committees. And the following appointments made were Andy Diaz, who is going to be on landmarks and street activities. Arturo Fernandez will be on land use and human services. Juliet Kay will be on schools and ed and human services. Janet Liff will be on traffic and transportation and human services. Ben Listman will be on traffic and transportation and parks. And Ed Siegel will be on parks and street activities. Our website has been updated to reflect these. Also, I would announce that starting September 1, Eugene is going to be the sole chair of land use, and Katie will be transitioning to vice chair of the committee. For those of you who were not participating in our personnel committee meeting, our temp Francine Lang is going to be out on medical leave for starting the beginning of September for the next 2 to 3 months. We had a personnel meeting just before this meeting to discuss options regarding finding a substitute for that window of time. I think we didn't reach a definite consensus, but for now, I think we're going to be looking for another option. The one option that we sort of have before us poses some difficulties and potential conflict issues. Mark will be, just to notify you, will be on vacation in October from the 2nd until the 16th of that month. So to the extent that anybody has any particular office needs at that time, I just want to let everybody know that we will be doing our best to cover your needs. But he's very much in need of a vacation and booked this well in advance. Lastly, I just want to ask all of our chairs to please make it part of your routine every month to confirm that you're going to have a quorum, or at least communicate with your members to do your best to see that you have a quorum. I know in the summer, things got a little more lax, and I know people are often unavailable, but it would be in your committee's interests and every board's interests if you really made that request from your committee members every single month, so that we don't have this continuing issue. And I think that's it for me in terms of just routine stuff. Yes, Valerie.
So I see that Andy got added to the landmarks committee, but it still has Ryder listed as a member of the landmarks committee, and Brendan Fitzgerald still as a public member. So has everything been like QC'd? Like
No, it
just
hasn't.
the addition?
We added new people. It has to still. It's not double checked, but we wanted to at least get their names in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
Julian Horky should come off my committee.
Yes, we do have to. We do have to prove it. Yeah.
I think it's still on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't come off even when I
So permanent member.
Yes, right.
Thanks.
But thank you, yes. Okay, Mark.
All right, thanks. I'm going to sit at the table if you don't mind for just a moment. Because I want to share the screen for a second. So while I'm walking to the table, the holiday party, I think you got the notice, but save the date for December the 9th. Details to follow, but it's going to look and feel a lot like last year's. Okay, so the main part, well, let me just cover up a couple of things. The Airtable project is moving forward. I have a proposed set of, I'm sorry if I back to somebody. I have a set of proposed naming conventions that I've mapped out. I'm vetting it through the chair, through the office folks, because these are the people who are actually going to be inputting it, and they'll have ideas as well. So I should have that to you by the end of the week. And I asked the committee chairs to then double check and vet and help us make sure, because we only get to do this once. Once we rename all these files, that's how we're going to be searching them. So the goal is between the name of the document itself, or the renaming of the document itself, and then the tags we apply to it, that's what the search engine searches. That's why it's got to be done correctly so that we put it into the category in which people will then find it. We already talked about Francine's medical leave, so I won't repeat. I will add that with respect to my vacation, I thought I scheduled it around SLA, but it turns out that that's the week of Rosh Hashanah. I booked this a year ago. So actually SLA is the following week. So I've engaged Mark Moss to cover those two meetings to make sure that they are recorded properly. And then everything else will be in this room and handled appropriately. It looks like we're going to be at 75 Morton for full board in October, and I'll be back in plenty of time for that. Let's see. So the main thing I want to talk to you tonight about is the district needs statement and the statement of budget priorities. And if you'll forgive me, I'm going to share the screen to show you the work in progress. And so this is our Google Drive. And down here is district needs statement and budget requests. So here's what you had last year. And I've migrated a lot of things. So I'm sorry, to back up for folks who are new to this, and forgive me for everybody else who isn't, we're talking about the fiscal year 2026 budget. We're currently in the fiscal year 2025 budget, 2 months in, but that's where we are. The budget goes from July 1st to June 30th, and it's named for the June 30th date. So next July 1st, that's the next budget on the cycle we're now going to be talking about. And it is a little bit of a trick to talk to agencies about what they're going to be spending on a budget that hasn't even been drafted yet, but that's what we're doing. So if you need to refer back to fiscal 25, it's still there, but I've imported into fiscal 26 a number of things, including, for example, budget priorities. Here's what they were last year. And the agency responses to the budget priorities we gave. And I've sorted them both by agency and by our level of priority so that you can hopefully find what you're looking for. And it is worth a quick peruse because sometimes the agency says a dead no. And now you know, it doesn't mean you don't advocate for it again. It just means that you know what you're up against. And sometimes they give you really unhelpful answers like you should talk to the agency, as if that's not what we're doing by submitting this. Anyway, okay. And let's just see if there's anything else that's not, okay, narrative statements. In addition to budget priorities, each committee is asked to come up with at least one the form that we put all this into, which is a portal from the Department of City Planning, requires in each level, so it's usually roughly equivalent to our committees, they ask you for a top priority and then any number of budget requests after that. So a top priority, let me see. So a top priority for schools and education last year was the Bleecker Street School. And then there were a variety of other ones, including things like HVAC and renovations of this and that. Okay. And then the other thing that the board as a whole is asked to do is identify 3 top priorities for the whole district. And last year, for example, those were mental health outreach. We wanted funds for an intensive mobile treatment team, or IMF. That was a flat no, by the way. We wanted the new school, the Bleecker Street School, 100,000 square foot. And then the third was affordable housing, converting 2 Howard Street, which is now a federal parking garage, into a site that could be transferred to HPD and then converted it or recreated as affordable housing. That's what we did last year. Doesn't mean you have to do it this year. So that's what the tasks are ahead of you. This is what I'm going to offer in way of support if there's more that you need. So in narrative statements, this is the overview that was created, but each individual committee will have its narrative statements in addition to the top priorities and so forth. So I don't think we need to see any more of that. Okay. So what you could be doing right now is reaching out to whoever it is that you would take advice from about what the needs of the community are. And whether that be the not-for-profits, whether that be the agency itself, some combination of these things, and so forth. One of the things that potentially could fall through the cracks, and in talking with the chair, I thought maybe it might come back to exec, is that, and I'm sorry, so let me back up. DCP also offers a survey, and it's been on our e-blast for the last 2 weeks, and it'll stay there until at least exec in September. And last year, we got some interesting information from it. There were priorities that were supported very heavily by the results of that survey. It is now also on the homepage of our website. So it's a button you can push and complete the survey. From district service cabinet, from attending those police build a block and community council meetings that I've been able to go to, obviously they conflict with a lot of our meetings. Public safety has been an issue that keeps coming up. And it is conceivable that folks will put 2 and 2 together and see that the need or the desire for changes in the way in which behavior on the street, about some of the challenges of the folks that you meet on the street, could intersect with our budget priorities. So we may want to reserve room around this table for a discussion about whether that should find its way into the district needs statement. Obviously, services for people with severe mental illness or who are unhoused or who have drug use and addiction services, that goes to the Human Services Committee. And obviously that's where this #1 priority came from. But there may be a law enforcement or a companion piece to it that the board may or may not want to consider. And the only reason I'm briefing or raising it is that it doesn't fit neatly into any one committee. So I've now done that. Let's see. It would be great if the committees could include in their September agendas some discussion. I know that some committees have already started that process of what the priorities ought to be, and with a view toward having the exec meeting in October be putting together all of these budget priorities that come from the various committees into a single list. The new website from the DCP still requires us to order rank our budget priorities from 1, and usually once you get past 25 or 30 in capital and 35 or 40 in expense, there are jokes about, the guy who's picked last in the NFL draft, Mr. Irrelevant, they call him. Anyway, so at some point it becomes diminishing returns, but it is necessary to rank them. And with all apologies, you don't want me doing that. That should be your decisions and so forth. You certainly want to take a separate vote on what the top 3 are. That should be done at October exec. And then right? Yeah, and so laying the groundwork for that in September is the way to make all of that work. This is technically due on October 31st. Last year, I think we got it all done and in on November 14th, and we were by no means the last board to do so. So that is basically my report, and other than to say that with this DNS stuff, I'm happy to take on whatever tasks you need, but I don't want to usurp your position, so call on me.
The biggest thing for this over the years is that everybody has ideas, but they don't attribute them to the right agency. And it might be helpful to try to identify the different agencies in a big list, share it with all the committee chairs so that you can properly reference who it goes to, because we've had a number of things kicked back to us in the past saying, oh, you identified the wrong agency, and so it went nowhere. And so
You'll see that in the responses this year if that happens.
Okay, yeah, so
Because a
just,
lot of our things are carried over, so we would know.
no, but we put them to the wrong, and we have over many years. And that's because it's a last minute at the, that stuff gets moved around. So starting with what are we trying to target with each of these requests to start with might start a better conversation and people looking when there's early enough where in each agency it might go. Because some things seem like they go to one place, but they don't. And that's because we have so many important small needs and we don't have as much leadership
To kick it.
in our local city council members, it becomes really important, this stuff. So we don't have city council speaker as one of our.
Got it. There's two things I should have mentioned. First is, and Carter just adverted to this, but I should say it out loud declaratively. This is the city budget. There are things that we need that are in the realm of the state, and even a few of them are the feds. For example, a lot of stuff that comes to us in the way of services from DYCD and from ACS come to us through a federal block grant. So if you're asking for more money, you're talking to Dan Goldman, not to Carlina Rivera. The other is that there is a process that will start in September, and it's on the same Google Drive that I just showed you. The Office of Management and Budget convenes budget consultations with as many city agencies as has a sense of humor to meet with us. And it's by borough, so it's the 12 Manhattan community boards. And traditionally, this has been a thing that's been operated by district managers. Although once upon a time I did this before I was a district manager. But that doesn't mean that you're excluded. And so the schedule of the meetings, they're about an hour long each, and there's about 6 or 7 per day, but the times are prescribed. So, for example, if you wanted to go when schools and when the Department of Education and the School Construction Authority is on the docket, you can zoom in for just that one. It's all done, I think it's on Teams, but it's all done virtually now. And same with parks and with the uniform services and so forth. So the schedule is there. There are 3 dates, the 9th, 16th, and 22nd, I believe, of September. By the way, those are good dates not to try to find me because I'll be on Zoom the whole day. Any questions? I'm sorry, my back to some folks here. Okay, thanks.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Yes,
Sorry.
Valerie.
Could you email us, could you be so kind as to email us the like overall umbrella link for the Google Drive to the budget stuff? So just have it fresh. Thank you so much.
Oh, and to Carter's point about the list of agencies, a good place to start, I'll get that together. A good place to start is the responses from last year, because essentially each committee knows with whom they correspond.
That's my point, was to start with that. Because even if it went to the wrong agency, you know that this, don't go back, don't repeat our mistake. Thank you. Seeing no questions about that, the next thing, review of the calendar for September and the rest of the year. Does anybody have any items on there they would like to amend?
Not for, we likely,
Okay, Valerie, go ahead.
sorry,
And
for
then I'll-
outdoor dining, I'll be sending, I need to get availability. We just don't know when that additional load of applications is going to come. So we're likely going to need a second date for the next few months. So I will offline.
We will address that as you have an absolute.
Of course.
Do that. Yes, Donna?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that the email blast for October should try to go out on that Friday, the 27th, with the holidays the following week. Instead of going out the 30th of September, I think it should go out the 27th. That's all.
What is it currently scheduled for?
It's currently scheduled for Monday, the 30th.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of holidays, you know, in that week, so I'm afraid community may miss it if it goes out that week.
So better on the Friday, the 22nd, 27th?
27, I think so.
Okay, and then, so just to close that loop, for committees that don't have application-driven agendas, that would also be the night before that would be the deadline for submitting your agenda for that committee the
Correct.
following month, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, Chanel?
We will definitely have a special meeting in September, and I'll talk about that later. The Monday would be ideal for it.
I'm sorry, which
September?
The usual Monday
Oh,
for the
16th.
special
Be
meeting.
the 16th.
you're talking about the 16th, which is currently cannabis?
That's the Monday that follows, yes.
We can work out another, because it shouldn't be too early, but it can be flexible about when it is, as long as it's before the board meeting. Because it doesn't depend on applications.
Landmarks needs that second meeting, and usually the second meeting for Landmarks falls on Monday.
I'm sorry, and why is there a second meeting required?
The Delapio meeting.
Yeah, the Dappolito.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to work something out on that in terms of scheduling. Okay. September 10th is an open date. Can we use that? Can you use that?
Are you saying a date? I can't hear.
I'm sorry, I said September the 10th is an open day.
Okay, let's put it then, and we'll, I hope to get this all settled by the 1st of September, so that will give notice to the public.
I will say, that it's nice to have that open day because we do not know what's going to come from outdoor dining. And so having that available to grab would be helpful.
Unfortunately, you know, September is a tough month.
I also will say that if we're doing something on Dappolito, since we are doing something for Dappolito on Landmarks, this room is clearly not going to be the correct venue for that size-wise. So it would need to be.
Well, if Chanel, if you're going to have.
So the 16th works.
On Dappolito, but that's a booking issue that we would.
Right, and if you don't feel that it's important to have it before the board meeting, it could be after it.
It would.
Huh?
Still full.
Still full.
Yeah,
What?
it is, the calendar is still full. The truth is, we just have to work with what we've got, and we're just going to have to.
I would also say as a committee member, having 2 committee meetings in 1 week is not ideal
It isn't.
for Landmarks. Sorry.
You get it over with.
And even though we have been saying this for months and months, the backlog of outdoor dining,
Yeah,
we're gonna pull the finger out of the dike.
Yeah.
I know.
yeah, so
And,
I would kindly ask, and also I would say that that's 3 meetings
Okay,
for Brian that week.
You
It's
know
gonna
something?
live in the
Hold on a second. Actually,
So you can keep the 10th
if it doesn't have to be before the board, the 30th is also open.
That's fine as long as you don't feel that it needs to come before the board meeting.
I think it's more important that we have,
Who knows what's gonna
we
happen?
don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're,
I mean, I'm not gonna share it in a public meeting, but
the only, I don't know, something, this is simply a question of trying to anticipate when we don't have enough information.
There's no question of this being a special meeting because it's a big thing and we anticipate a lively.
Okay, so
I
the,
think it should go out on the first calendar is where it becomes important to discuss it tonight, if that's gonna be a topic.
well, that's just it. We really,
What do you mean?
it should be something that's all that we definitely put on the calendar.
yeah,
Maybe the best thing to say then is to do it on the 30th, because you would not use the 30th as a date for,
I don't know. I mean,
I know,
that's the thing. I don't know. I mean,
but it's a
I'm just
Monday
saying
anyway.
from the double booking, you wouldn't hold a Doppolito meeting in this room. I don't think.
No, I don't think
So
so.
so if it's about double booking, I guess like I don't understand what the
We're
issue
not gonna
is.
double book it. That's why I'm suggesting doing the 30th. And this way we would have no double booking.
Yeah, I will just say, I'm the only one who talks about it, but outdoor dining, the rate, if you divide the number of what we supposedly have coming, and this was old numbers, if it's spread out even over 3 or 4 months, it's a significant number in an order. If some of them are contentious or not, remains to be seen. The meetings need to be spaced every couple of weeks to just process stuff, because it's not a monthly basis that they're referred, it's weekly. And if we have staggered numbers, it's just going to be a little, and as much as they've promised us, they haven't referred enough to do the staggered rate that they've promised, if, depending on whatever they want to start issuing approving the licenses. So it's a little gray, but I don't know how that process is really working, because if you have 170, 180 big numbers, then that's back. So.
What's the trigger for us doing a meeting on Doppolito in September? Is there a key decision point coming up or?
It was discussed at the landmarks meeting. It'll be part of Chenault's report.
Yeah. Well, the trouble is that you just, I mean, especially if you're going to need spread out outdoor dining at some point, there aren't enough days in the month. So there may just have to be some sort of double booking, or
So I guess,
it's
so
not
why
possible.
not have it on the 16th if that's what Chenault's asked for? I guess that's what I don't understand.
As long as there's not too much.
I was
overlap.
suggesting that because it's
Testing that,
the day before the,
16th, and that therefore.
Well, that's what he
and
asked
this
for. Yeah.
No, but
Oh,
it shouldn't be too early so we can give adequate notice. But it's not dependent on getting resolutions to the commission, which normally our meetings
Which
are.
is why I
That's
was
not the
suggesting that
Thursday.
if the 30th is open, that might give you, that might be a better option. So let's put it down for the 30th.
So, but we're fine with the 30th.
Okay.
Just knowing that we could perhaps say some. Well, we'll figure out it's also such a volatile situation. It may very well change by the time the 30th comes around. But I would put that in my calendar and do.
Okay, Chanel, thank you. Anything else on the calendar? Okay. Well, next is our committee reports. So let's start with street activities.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chenault, I do apologize.
Yes, if you would, please.
It's a
Thank you.
timing issue. He asked to go first.
Okay, sure.
Since we're on the subject of the special meeting, the idea is to have a meeting in September. One reason is to give notice that we are concerned and actually working on the project. There's been such an outcry from the results of the meeting when it was suggested about demolition, that we'd like to do it as soon as possible. And this will be a meeting for the very specific purpose of the demolition of the facility. And details will come according to what we learn about it and what we decide to do about it. We had two resolutions. The first one is 122 Washington Place to install a stoop gate at the front of the property and repaint the front door. A perfectly standard and a perfectly acceptable, and it's approved. The other application, 803 Greenwich Street, to reconfigure the front facade, ground pour, piers, brownstone stucco with a central garage entrance flanked by two doorways, install 1/1 windows, restore the lintels, paint the doors, windows and cornice black, install large windows at the rear facade, ground and second floors, install a balcony at the second floor, and paint the ground and the second floors black, install paved garden and planters. You'll see the note there. It was our feeling that in the scope of the new regulations about what staff can approve, that they have simply overreached in this one on some very significant items. And that's why the asterisks are beside certain items and the conclusions, because they are at the moment in the hands of the staff. We recommend approval of the stucco finishing and piers at the first floor front facade, approve the rear facade first and second floor windows and balcony. And then along the things that were technically not before us, we recommend denial of the modern interpretation of the facade of the first floor commercial configuration, denial of the black color on the rear facade. And that's it. Everything was unanimous, and I failed to write that in it, so that if that can be added to the resolution, please. Resolutions.
I'm sorry, please say that again.
Oh, that they were both unanimous, and I just didn't put it in the.
Got it. Okay, is there any discussion of either of those, yes, Carter?
I just want to raise.
Oh, and I'm sorry, just as a technical matter, the yellow highlighting can be erased, and I could not for the life of me figure out how to do it. So in the true copy, there's no reason for that to be highlighted.
Yes, Carter.
I just wanted to bring up with 122 Washington Place, this application is a result of security concerns. These are issues that are being widely discussed, but not at our board, with the 6th Precinct Community Council in particular, and we have very little representation there. Mark was alluding to that, but it's something that is coming up more and more of how all these situations are interconnected. And I just think it's important for people just to be aware that these discussions are happening in the community because it's not always, shared widely. But this is one of many applications that have come to Landmarks for bigger gates and putting new gates on the front of buildings. And it's obviously, the fact that we're just putting it in there is good, but everybody really needs to be aware that this is a huge concern and it ties into the district needs, a lot of other issues, committees and stuff like that. But this is a physical consequence of those issues.
If there is any other comments or questions on these, if there's no objection, I will take a vote on these. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, you're gonna break down the vote. Okay, thank you. Okay, any against, abstentions or recusals? Okay, they passed unanimously. Okay, so next I will do street activities.
And so we're treating this like a regular one for
You
each one?
present them as
Okay.
resolutions and then we discuss them,
Okay.
whatever we input.
So we had a very, very long meeting. Thank you to members of our committee who stayed for over 5 hours. This was close to 30 applications. We heard around 20 of them. I'll go through it very quickly. Let me just say also at the start, we've been talking about ways to sort of balance the workload here and to be able to have the committee move back towards spending more time on resiliency, which has been a bit tough because everything has just overloaded our calendar with these street activities. And so I've been working with Erica, who's going to take over as chair of our committee with a specific street activity focus, which should free up more time for me to look at resiliency again. So we should be implementing more resiliency and climate-related topics back into our committee schedule, which we haven't been able to do for a good 6+ months because we've been very busy. So I would just say that. But I'll go through now. So the first two were Tony Moly Cart, Broadway between Broome and Spring, Spring between Mott and Mulberry. That was approved unanimously. Number 3, August 13th, Antienne's product launch, Broadway between Grand and Howard. That was approved unanimously. 4, 5, and 6 were all different ice cream sampling events by Van Leeuwen at 3 different locations. I'm curious, I haven't seen any photos. I'm curious how that went. We denied 2 of the locations because there were extremely narrow blocks where it was impossible to keep a 5-foot pedestrian right of way. And then we approved the 3rd one. That was 4-1. Sorry, the first 2 were denied unanimously, and then the last one was 4-1 approved. Number 7, August 16th to 18th, Tory Burch Coffee Cart, Mercer between Prince and West Houston. That was unanimous approved. Number 8, also associated with that, August 16th to 18th was Tory Burch Display. This was a wrap of Soho News International, sort of a quasi pop-up, but the store remained open. That was approved unanimously. Number 9, August 17th and 18th, Kate Spade Curb Lane pop-up, Broome between Green and Mercer. That was approved unanimously with 1 recusal. August 23rd to 25th, Duolingo pop-up. That's coming up on Grand between Thomas and West Broadway. We've done a deny unless there because we just feel that the current plan for line management was to put it again on a very narrow sidewalk without room for a 5-foot pedestrian right of way. They may decide to block off a curb lane and put the lane there. Number 11 was Tumbados, August 24th. Storefront for art and architecture. This is looking for a street closure to celebrate a new piece of art that's going up there with a planned cultural event that's going to feature lowrider vehicles, among other things. Looks like a really interesting event. Unfortunately, that block is incredibly busy. Ingress and egress to the Williamsburg Bridge with no standing zones on each side. We've learned since then that the 5th precinct has now worked with them and they've set aside 1 curb lane. I guess they've decided that's okay. And they're going to park the lowrider vehicles there, but not close the street. So that was unanimous deny as it was presented, but it seems like that has now changed after working with them. August 27th through September 2nd, Daily Drills pop-up. This is sort of a massive takeover of some of the streets in Nolita. I don't know if folks remember, there was another pop-up down there done by, I think it was Jerf was the brand, Jerf Avenue, which resulted in lines kind of going around multiple blocks and a lot of frenzy in that area. In this case, they're proposing a pop-up store that's actually so small they cannot store the inventory there. So people will have to buy and then cross the street and then go into a curb lane where there's a second setup to pick up their items. It's totally chaotic. We're trying to express that we don't like this idea at all. We voted unanimously to deny. Number 13, August 31st, Broadway Village Core, Broadway between 14th and actually it's between 14th and 8th, not Waverly. That was unanimous approved. September 5th, Breitling Block Party, Washington Street between 13th and 14th. That's a tailgate themed party. That's only for 2 hours. That was unanimous approved. Number 15, September 6th and 7th, Kendra Scott, New York Fashion Week. They moved this from the Gansevoort Plaza. It's now 14th Street, South Curb Lane between 10th Avenue and Washington Street. Double-decker bus, that was unanimous approved. Number 16, September 6th through 8th, Game Show 2, Gansevoort Plaza. No show, unanimous deny, and there's a conflicting event, which is number 17, the Great Elephant Migration. This looks like a really interesting art display. I don't know if you folks have already heard about this. It's already getting some press. They're basically going to bring in a bunch of, 80 to 100 life-size elephant sculptures and place them all throughout meatpacking. Yeah, and they're all being created by indigenous artists from invasive plants, apparently, which is great. They've already done it in Newport, and they're moving it to New York, starting in September, at the start of September through the end of October. So they'll be there for 2 months. That was a unanimous approved. Number 18, September 6th, Steve Madden, Mr. Softy Truck, Broadway between Broome and Spring. That was unanimous approved. Number 19, September 7th, UGG Pop-Up, Broadway between Grand and Howard, no show, unanimous deny. September 8th, Plant Passenger. This is sort of artwork consisting of vintage convertibles filled with plants. It's being done in conjunction with the pop-up at 72 Spring, or at 70 Spring. That was unanimous approved. 21, September 10th, Bank Street Pop-Up. That's a block party. That was unanimous approved. Number 22, September 14th, Maria Nyla Hair Care, Broadway between Clarence and Houston. This is a promotional truck. That was unanimous approved. September 14th, Village Trip. This is a festival that goes on every year. They're looking to move their sort of opening festival performance to West 4th between 6th Ave and Barrow. This is going to create a huge sort of traffic issue. We talked to them about it just because of traffic in that area. If you close off West 4th, you also have to close Barrow, Jones. You have to close more of West 4th than where they're just going to have the event. So we generally want to support the event. They've already tried to make some adjustments, which is going to result, I think, in no need to close Jones anymore. But we've told them, similar to other large events like those that have been done in meatpacking, they need to use visual message boards to sort of sign the change in traffic ahead of time. But that was unanimous approved, but there's still a lot of work to do there. Number 24, September 17th, NYC Votes National Voter Registration Day. That's a full street closure of the LaGuardia between Washington and West 3rd. They may decide just to do that in the curb lane. They were open to that. That was unanimous approved. 25, September 22nd, Il Buco Pig Roast. They do this every year. This is bond between Broadway and Lafayette. This year it's for the 30th anniversary. Our big concern was the style of cooking, which basically they want to do a pig roast in the street and start cooking at midnight. They claim that they're using cinder block oven and charcoal that would reduce smoke rather than a wood-fired stove, which I'm a little skeptical on. And basically you'd have smell, smoke, and noise the entire night. From 12 to 9. So we put a deny unless, basically saying they deny unless they move the cooking to inside, which is what they've done the last few years. And that was unanimous. And I know Mark attended a walkthrough of that, and FDNY is very aware of it. So I'm not sure they're going to make them move, but we'll see.
I think SAPO is actually great. SAPO and CECM were both at this event.
I don't know why they're so quick to sign off on it.
Yeah, you saw my notes, so.
Yeah. And then 26 to 28, their FYI renewals, unanimous approved.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Chanel.
It seems like there are an inordinate number of full street closures. I just ask, what is the standard for something that merits a full street closure opposite the sidewalk and maybe parking lane?
Sure. Well, I think the vast majority of these are curb lane or sidewalk actually, but for this full street closure, there's certain rules of a street event. So there's different kinds of street events, right? You can do a single block festival, which you're allowed to have, you're allowed to have a block closed and you pay a certain amount. There's really not necessarily a distinguishment that SAPO makes, other than that, like, if you're doing a nonprofit or cultural event, you can do a different style event that costs less. But it's really that it just costs a lot more if you're doing it for a commercial purpose, right? So there's really not much of a distinction that we're allowed to make, other than if something's inordinately disruptive. But if someone wants to pay the fee to close a block, as long as it's not going to cause too much traffic disruption, as long as it's not going to cause too much disruption to the neighbors, generally SAPO will approve those. But it's a significantly higher fee than if you just do it curb line. But most of these events for this month are actually curb line and sidewalk.
Does anybody want to call any of those items out or have any discussion on any of the items that we'll present? Yes.
So I just went by for application number 4, which was problematic. It was in front of Dante's Berry Street. We said in our discussion and our notes that there wasn't enough room for pedestrian traffic to walk by with some kind of event going on there with something in the curb lane. At the time that they were planning to have that event in the morning, I went by there and they didn't have it. They had the curb lane blocked off, but there was no event going on. The next day, I went to the second site, number 5, and there they had a sign that said that they had changed the time to 4 p.m. to 4 to 7 or 4 to 9, something like that, and also for the Sunday event. So I don't know if they had tried to have that event at Dante's in the afternoon or not, because they did have the lane blocked off. But it brought up to my mind, they apply with certain dates and certain times and certain provisions. And then after they leave our meeting, it becomes changed to be something else. And we don't really hear back, I don't think. So is that just the way it goes? And that's the best we can do?
It's kind of a rhetorical question. I mean, I think so. I think the best we can do is try to make sure that people report to us when there's a problem and something moves so we can keep track of it. I think sometimes there's probably situations that come up that would force someone to slightly change the time. So to answer your question, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's very difficult for us to track every single event that happens in the end. I think we rely a bit on just folks reporting to us when something's problematic.
I guess part of it was, did anybody on this call go to that Dante's event on the 15th in the afternoon to see if they actually had it or not? I
don't know what you do except possibly, submit a letter saying that we were made aware that they didn't abide by the terms.
But they may have asked SAPO if they could
They may
change
have
it.
done that. We
SAPO
don't
may
know.
have just said yes, right?
That's right.
There's no new stipulations, right, that they sign or anything?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Are you finished?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Just a hand.
And I see
It's from someone who doesn't have the camera.
It might still be Chanel.
yes.
Just left it up.
Oh, you're right. No, there it is.
Chanel.
It
You
is
just
Chanel.
left it up.
Thank you. Chanel, yes? Is your hand up? I
That
have.
was just from a
Mark, can
question.
you put the panelist list so we can see who?
That is Chanel.
It's
I
Chanel.
think it may have just been from when he had his hand up before.
Okay, I'm going to assume that you don't have anything additional. Is there any of these other items anyone wants to call out or discuss? If not, and there's no objection, I will take a vote on there's 1 through 25 and then the FYIs of 26 through 28. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions or recusals? Okay, it is unanimous.
No, I need to recuse myself from 14, 15, 16, and 17. I'm a voting member of the meatpacking bid.
Okay.
Janine?
No, that's,
Donna,
Meatpacking bid. Thank you, Donna.
Oh, sorry, yeah, there was a recusal on one of yours. What was the reason?
I think that was because that the applicant was one of the professional clients.
no, I'm a voting member of the meatpacking bid.
No, that was for Erica. Erica's.
Oh, okay,
Any committee he's talking about.
sorry.
That's- I'm impressed.
Okay, let's move on to SLA. Stop.
Okay, we had a joint meeting on August 6th in person. There were 20 applications and 7 resolutions. All the decisions were unanimous. 310 West 4th LLC doing business as Bartolo at 310 West 4th Street. This was a new on-premise for a restaurant. That was a deny. NRK Cafe doing business as Lila Bar at 422 Hudson Street. This is a tavern wine. It was an alteration to increase the bar size and add rear seating in the back of the premises. That was deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. RDK Restaurant Corp. doing business as Bistro La Amie at 180 Spring. That was an alteration for the dining out New York City, adding the sidewalk and roadway seating. That was deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. Grey Dog Carmine at 49 Carmine Street. This is premise restaurant and an alteration to add a change a service bar to a customer bar with 8 seats. That was a deny. Shake Shack at 225 Varick Street, restaurant wine. This was a corporate change and that was a deny and we waived their appearance. There was no change in method of operation and we have updated stips just with the new signature. Same thing for Shake Shack at 820 Washington Street, restaurant wine, corporate change, re-sign the stips with the new principal. And 2 guys in a fish tank doing business as Chechi's, 105 West 13th Street, on premise for a restaurant, change in method of operation to open at 5 o'clock instead of 11 and 11:30. They signed new stipulations with the correct hours and we waived their appearance. And I hope we don't have them on here again because they've been almost every month with some little thing that the SLA has been asking them to do. Items 8 through 20 were layovers or withdrawals. And then I had 1 new business. So how do you want me to handle that? Should I just?
Go ahead.
That was at number 21 and that's 299 Hospitality, West Houston. It's a restaurant wine. They came to us in April for an OP. This is just, and it was unanimously approved. This is pretty much just procedural. They want to get the temporary license quicker. So they're applying for restaurant wine and they signed stipulations with that checked off.
Thank you. Yes, Eugene.
Oh, I just had 2 things, Donna. I think so for number 3, the Bistro Les Amis on page 8, I think the hours of operation, they are written as 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. I think you meant for 12 a.m.
AM, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And also on number 6 as well, the second Shake Shack, same thing with the hours of operation. I think it says 11 a.m. to 11
Yeah,
a.m.
no, you're right. Yeah, that obviously is not good. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Eugene. Does anyone want to call any of these items out for discussion or any questions about any of them? Okay, seeing none. So items 1 through 7, and then the renewal, layovers, no shows, et cetera, 8 through 20. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions, recusals?
I voted aye. I had a question about 21.
The new business
yeah,
item.
we need
Sorry, I
21.
didn't do that. Yes. Go ahead if you have a question.
Oh, no, I didn't know. Are we voting on that separately? I just.
I
guess
rolled
so.
it. I didn't.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's it. I just was like, I was trying to ask before we were voting on the block if that was included in the block.
Yes, they're all included in the block.
Okay.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Outdoor dining.
Great, thank you so much. I already see one correction on there of July 14th, so it's August 14th is we met last Wednesday. We had 3 applications, 2 sidewalk, 1 roadway, across 2 separate applicants. So we have, the first one is Little Ruby's West Village LLC, DBA Little Ruby's Cafe at 225 West 4th Street. And I see the width, I'm going to take that out there. Am I just reading? I'm not going to read all the whereases, I'm just going to where the.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. So therefore, what? Sorry?
No.
Brief.
Okay, therefore be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends approval of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Ruby's West Village LLC, DBA Little Ruby's Cafe, 225 West 4th Street, 104. Unanimous 4 in favor. The second resolution is for Partners Coffee, WB LLC, DBA Partners Coffee at 44 Charles Street for a sidewalk cafe. And I will read that this applicant did not appear. However, we did vote. You can read there about what the modifications that are listed under, whereas the recommended modifications on page 3 of the report, page 53 in your PDF packet. And therefore be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends approval with modifications of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Partners Coffee, WB LLC DBA Partners Coffee at 44 Charles Street. The working group voted conditionally deny the application as was presented, or as we were reviewing it on last Wednesday, in order to try and reach out to the applicant who did not appear at the CB2 public hearing to see if an agreement over the proposed modifications that the working group voted on could be agreed upon. The applicant agreed, and the denial is now an approval with modification. So unanimous 4 in favor. And the last one is also for Partners Coffee for their roadway cafe. And you can see the modifications under suggested modifications. Therefore, be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends submitting the comments as stated above, approval, and in parentheses, it's approval with modifications just to define it for the board, even though that is not on the form that is submitted, because it is comment only since it's roadway, to DOT regarding the Dining Out NYC Roadway Cafe for Partners Coffee. So again, with this application, as you know, it was the same applicant as the Sidewalk Cafe. And so we voted to conditionally deny the application as was reviewed at the meeting on last Wednesday in order to try and reach out to the applicant who did not appear. And they agreed to the modifications and resubmitted a updated site plan, and that was unanimous 4 in favor. And then quickly, there's, I won't read all of the report, but this is we've had 6 applications total, 4 sidewalk and 2 roadway that have been referred to us from DOT. There is a link in there that should be live that will take you to, it's diningout.nyc.gov/application. There is a live map for outdoor dining. That's the outdoor dining portal that leads to the application at the very top for applicants to apply, but it's a map that the DOT was required to publish by last Friday that will list, you can choose different community districts or different council districts across the city to see what establishments have been approved for Dining Out NYC. When you go to the map now, you'll see that there are none on there yet. So as those continue through the approval process, it's 5 to 6 months is what they're saying for establishment to go through the full process. So, and that's the report. Any questions?
I'm sorry, 5 to 6 months, the whole, in the sense of it won't take that long from now to get those that you've approved, recommended approval?
The entire process for an operator applying for the program is 5 months for roadway and 6 months for sidewalk is what they've estimated. So that's not the queue. That is not the
Your
queue.
question, they've applied 3 to 4 months ago already.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So for example, Partners Coffee submitted their applications on March 19th.
Right.
And so those were referred to
Start to
us
finish.
on July 29th.
I was just afraid that we would have to wait 5, 6 months to see it up on, on the site. Thank you.
Oh, on the site,
Yes,
sorry,
no, thank you.
sorry.
Shirley,
Yeah, I just have a question about the modifications and update.
Yeah.
Is there any deadline for them to get these modifications and updates in?
Shirley, thank you so much for asking, and we did miss you at our meeting last week.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but.
That's all right. No, thank you for the question, so I can let everyone know. So that is an excellent question, and I think it's a real testament to the minds and the teamwork of the committee. So that was the whole idea, is so we have the modifications in the site plan. So the site plan is kind of the guide for the operator of how they are going to be once they are approved. It's not about them making the modifications to their current setup, as in like the day after this is passed by our organization. It's about when those modifications, once they've received that, when and if they receive the approval from DOT, then that is when, within those 30 days of that approval from DOT, that is when they have to have the modifications up to date. And so in terms of us receiving them, for all three of these applications, we have the modified site plans in hand that we are going to send to DOT with our response. And those will also be the same ones that the applicant re-uploads to the DOT application, Dining Out NYC application portal. So the work has been done.
Everything is so.
any other questions on any of these items for the report? If none, I will take a vote on the three items together. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Okay, they all pass. Okay, those are the committees that presented, that had resolutions. Let me just walk through the remaining ones to ask if any of these others have something to report, and I will start with arts and culture. I don't know. Yes.
My question is that still an existing group that is reporting?
Right now it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I don't know if Ivy is on with us, but I just wanted to ask if she had anything. No. Cannabis, do you have anything you'd like to share?
No, I put it in the package. We had somebody, they withdrew, they reapplied in September.
Thank you. Human services. Susanna is not with us. Land use.
No, we did not meet this month.
Okay. Parks.
Is there an agenda for next month?
Yes, we do have an agenda next month. We have one application, and looks like we'll be adding in the district needs statement discussion for September.
We also have 3 applications for September. We're meeting on the 16th.
Okay.
It's gonna be a wild ride.
Can't wait.
Oh, boy. Is there anyone from Parks? Schools and Ed? Does Schools and Ed have anything?
No, we did not meet.
Okay.
Kids go back to school September 5th.
What about in September?
We are meeting in September. We're gonna update our district needs statement, and I think we have one other agenda item that I have to add.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, we should be looking forward, not back.
Do we know if Parks is
Not
meeting?
happening forward.
I don't know.
Okay.
I will have to ask. Well, forward as well as anything that's transpired. And traffic.
Right, so we met the last day of September and had 2 items, and there will be resolutions. One will be a request for a bus route actually in our area and possibly further down on West Street. Lots of changes have happened on West Street where you really do need a bus connection. Right now, there's the 12 that goes on 11th Avenue down to 14th. Then we have nothing down to Houston, and I believe that then Community Board 1 doesn't have anything either after that. So it's kind of something that's really needed. So we're asking, okay. The other thing is Mulberry Square, and if you are not familiar with that name, Mulberry Square refers to that very complex intersection at 11th Street, 7th Avenue South, and Greenwich Avenue. I'm sure all of you have tried to cross it and found it very confusing. We're asking for a study to try to correct some of the problems that have constantly been plaguing people. And that's it.
Yes, well,
Yeah, so Shirley, I'm glad you're gonna have that because I walk through that intersection all the time and I've almost been hit several times. It's a terrible
It's dangerous.
intersection. I wonder if, again, I don't know, but I wonder if they could consider, which I've seen in other cities, but I haven't really seen in New York, something where it's just walk across every single crosswalk for some
In other words, a barn sense. That was one of the things that is discussed, and we will put that in as one suggestion.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Where traffic stops completely, right? That's what you're saying. And
No, yeah, just exactly. So then you have like 20 seconds where everyone can just walk and no traffic storm.
Right.
Okay.
I'm confused. Didn't this meeting already happen?
Oh, did it already happen? Okay.
Now, Shirley, explain, the
thought you
meeting
said
happened,
September.
you opted not to present the resolutions and that, because they're not time sensitive. And that you wanted to say that since they would have to be ratified anyway, she opted to
Okay,
present them.
sorry. I thought you said September. I'm sorry.
She actually did say
Sorry.
September.
September 30th was the meeting.
July 30th.
You mean July 30th? September 30th hasn't come unless I'm really in a different dimension. Yeah, no, she means July 30th. Okay, is that anything else, Shirley?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. So that's the end of our standing committees. As I mentioned, in my report, the Personnel Committee did meet just before this meeting. And we are going to continue looking for a substitute for Francine to fill in for that 3-month window. So I will not repeat anything I said. Any new business?
I do.
Yes.
Can I share my screen really quickly? I promise I'll do it.
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to share, and I'm gonna send something to you, Mark, both for the Friday newsletter, and then Susan, you had agreed to a separate e-blast about this. So this is the Hudson Square New York Forward. New York State, as you know, has given Hudson Square a $4.5 million grant, and the open call for projects is now open. So the intent to propose is due September 6th. It's a really tight timeline, and the projects will be reviewed by the Hudson Square New York Forward Local Planning Committee. I sit on that committee, and it's chaired by Borough President Mark Levine, and there's others in the area that are on the committee. All of the local planning committee meetings are open to the public with a 10-minute public comment at the end. We meet tomorrow, and we will be reviewing projects at the end of September, at the late September meeting. If you go to Hudson Square New York Forward, hudsonsquarenyf.com, you can see all of the information about it, see who else is on the local planning committee, and see the open call for projects. So it's with the local planning committee will be recommending about 7 to 8 projects to Empire State Development, the state's economic development agency. We will be recommending just a little bit more than the 4.5 million to ensure that enough projects are available and proposed so that they can give out the funds. The big, and this can be public, private, nonprofit can apply for the grant. You do have to have access to bridge financing because the state will reimburse at the end. So anyway, so I just wanted to give that because this is all, the team that we worked with HR&A and the Hudson Square, they've done this across the city in the Garment district and in the Far Rockaways. And so this team knows this timeline, and they've been really great But just wanted to give this, show this here and I'll share it for our social media.
You want a standalone e-blast on?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you want that tonight?
No, you don't have to do it tonight. I'll give you the link. No, not tonight. I'll give you the language. I just need to put it together.
You don't have to give me the language, just send me this thing.
Okay.
And, in whatever, by any chance, do you have it as a JPEG?
Yeah, it's a JPEG.
Okay, send it that way and.
Oh, you can just do that. Oh, that's great. And then with a link,
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Oh, it's so much. Okay, great.
Nice and clean.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. That's it.
Yes, Brian.
So I see a building rehabilitation is in there and seems like Depolito Center would really use it. Just an idea. Okay, and the other thing was related to that, so I'll wait.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I have a second item that's not related to this.
Okay, sure. You're still on this? Go ahead.
Related to this one. So Chinatown received it 2 years ago, but nothing has gotten off the ground yet. Number 4 is most important because a lot of the applicants aren't able to fund it and are seeking out, different organizations within Chinatown in order to pay upfront the money and then get reimbursed later on. And there's several applicants who are actually trying to go after one organization to start these projects. So it's none that has gotten off the ground yet in Chinatown.
That sounds like a real hindrance.
Yeah, that's, like I said, the bridge financing is kind of a blocker for this. So someone's got to have access to financing to on the front end. So what Anthony was saying was number 4, must have a sponsor with the capacity and legal authority to undertake it, right? Is that what you were saying? So yes, that is one big caveat. I've seen NYC DOT has proposed projects. I'm sure that the bid will propose projects. I think Jackie Robinson Foundation with, so just like there's not, there will be, but we're just trying to get the word out. So thanks so much.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Brian has another new business item.
So the meeting that was talked about for Depolito Center and needing a larger space than this because of the interest of the public, the Lennox Health Greenwich Village conference room is available. I mean, I don't know about the specific date, but they have offered that space for our meetings if we need to find one.
Well, I will certainly, we'll have the office look into it and see what our options are, which is also why getting it out, not having it too near the future so that we have time to sort of look at what our options are. Unfortunately, at being the start of the semester, it's unlikely that NYU would be one of our options. So, yes, Carter.
As a separate, are we done with them?
Yes. Another item.
To wish Pete Davies a happy birthday. Pete, thank you for being one of our attendees.
Happy birthday, Pete.
This is where you spend your honor. This is where you spend your part of your special day. Thank you.
Brought champagne.
Are there any other items of business anyone wants to bring up? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of the August and summer.
That's pretty good.
Yay.
Yay.
Bye.